Many thanks for your company. In our very first story, transportation consultant Cecil Gabra is confident that Cabinet will not advise the President to approve the towing levy which has gone through Parliament. He is of the view the bill as it stands is rushed and was done without the appropriate consultation. The consultant, however, agrees with the idea of providing towing services if proper steps are taken before it is launched. He spoke to my colleague Daniel Dazi earlier this morning.
Let's face the fact that if you are using a brand new vehicle, you know, in the next 4 years you'll not have any breakdown. How then are you going to pay for somebody's negligence on yearly basis? That if you are going to renew your roadworthy certificate, you pay a levy for towing somebody's vehicle. That's number one. Number two, I'm always asking this question. Have you seen any big truck going to do any testing before? And all those towing issue, all the issues where trucks and vehicles are on the road are rather trucks, not the saloon vehicles, okay? And if there will be a way rather for them to check on them to have very good spare parts, good maintenance schedule, where we'll have a system to track it. When was your last servicing done? What did you change? Because if you look at every vehicle, after 5,000, which is equivalent to 3 months, you must change something on the vehicle. After 10,000, which is also equivalent to 6 months, you should change this, change that, and so on. Do we have good ties for them? All this must be in place before we even look at the towing system, because if we have all this in place, I don't think we'll have a lot of the vehicles being broken down. Well, it's sad. I still don't think Cabinet will get this through. I mean, I hear judgment debts and so on and so forth, but I trust this Cabinet that they'll sit up and repeal it and ask the transport stakeholders to go back to the drawing board and get something done. How do we sign a contract for 20 years? Give a contract to one company for 20 years. This is really ridiculous.
Mr. Gabra is referring to a contract awarded to the Road Safety Management Limited, RSML, a subsidiary of the Jospon Group owned by businessman Joseph Siao Ejapong by the National Road Safety Commission. Now, Chairman of Roads and Transport Committee of Parliament, Samuel Ayepe, says an abrogation of the contract could lead to the payment of judgment debt, hence the decision to okay it. There's, however, varied legal opinion on this matter. Let's hear lawyer A. Sankoma.
Went ahead to have a discussion with the GPRTU, that's the Ghana Private Road Transport Union. We had discussions also with the National Road Transport Coordinating Council. Okay. It's an umbrella body that groups all the road transport unions apart from GPRTU. So the Pro-Tour was also there. And then we also met the small-scale towing companies and individuals. Their representatives, for instance, DNI Towing Services was there. Jacuzzi Towing Services was also there. We met other road transport advocates like the Consumer Protection Agency. We also met other stakeholders in the transport industry. And then
so all these were groups that before had not been contacted?
Yes.
Or consulted?
Yes, some of them. The interaction we had with them indicates clearly that some of them has already been consulted. For instance, GPRTU and then the Ghana Road Transport Coordinating Council. But the level of consultation, with what we deduced, meeting them, we found out that the level of consultation was a bit low.
Judgment debts, when you're thinking about this, were you thinking about judgment debts?
It didn't come in any of our deliberations.
Okay.
Because that is to the executive to decide. Okay. The president will have to look at the contract and look at the compensation that need to be paid.
But is there room for abrogation? Can we abrogate?
Let's looking at the contract. If you want to abrogate and if there's any, the lawyers will be help.
Engaged are we? Is it that easy to do in everything in Ghana? How much debate did we have in this? How many Ghanaians even knew that the law had been passed, the LI had been passed, that the contract had been given? So we're giving the thing as done. Could we have had more debate on this instead of what has been presented? Because there are varying views, and with due respect to government and parliamentarians, you are not the only people in Ghana, right? And so how engaged were we in all of this? You took it through your processes, and change of government, slam bang, the thing is put in our faces. Look, people have serious concerns and suggestions. Brett Simmons has written a lot on these things, and some of what he's saying makes sense. That is, could there have been a mandatory roadside breakdown insurance requirement for motorists?
That's what happens in many other
so
jurisdictions.
That the insurance companies will be the one dealing with the towing companies. I don't have to pay for it. I've paid my insurance company. My insurance company, whatever insurance company is, will decide, okay, because that insurance has been paid to me, I want to engage this towing company or the other towing company. The net effect is that I, the ultimate purchaser, make a choice. That I might decide not to go with insurance company A next year because last year my car broke down and the towing company didn't show up. Here, I don't have any recourse. I have paid the money. I don't even know which course of action I have if they don't show up in 2 hours. And I mean, but really, the whole of Ghana, 2-hour delivery time. That's what, 1,000 towing vehicles? I don't know. I mean, really?
You heard Samuel Ipe, chairman of Parliament's Transport Committee earlier, and later you heard lawyer Ace Ankuma. Away from that, Ghana Audit Service has issued a certificate of indebtedness to 4 individuals for their involvement in causing financial loss to the state. At a press briefing in Accra, the Auditor General, Daniel Domelovo, said 7 other individuals will soon be served. He vowed all individuals, public or private, will not be spared as his office goes after corrupt individuals.
We will produce a report on our exercise in accordance with Section 17 of the Audit Service Act. The Act provides that anytime the Auditor General undertakes a special exercise or review, he produces a report and submits to Parliament. And we will make that public, that report also public, so you will get that report. Then you will find the individuals and the amount. Prior to that, it is unprofessional. No auditor starts releasing his report, information on his audit before the report is out. So you may not agree with me, but that is a professional practice. It is against the code of conduct of any accountant to start releasing information before issuing his report. So I'm afraid we will be issuing our report and we will make it public. Then you can get all the details that you are looking out there.
John uses Beatrice who joins us live on the phone lines now. Hello, Beatrice. Now, who are these companies who have been served with a certificate of indebtedness?
So Mr. Domelovo did not reveal who these individuals are. He declined to answer that question directly. He, however, said that those names would come up when they are ready with their report, which should be published by the end of this year. And he added that these people have up to 60 days to appeal the certificate that has been served them, or they will have to pay the money, all within 60 days.
All right, Beatrice, now we know that the Supreme Court earlier gave a ruling on the role of the Attorney General in terms of pursuing such cases. Did he specify which categories of individuals will be pursued?
Indeed, Bennett, he did. He said that public servants who incurred the infractions for which they are being served, also persons who authorized it. And this, he explained that even if you were not the one who caused the financial loss, but it was under your leadership and under your signature that it occurred, you will also be served. And finally, he also mentioned that persons whose negligence caused the financial loss to the state will also be served. And these persons, now he's saying, per the Supreme Court ruling, which was given on the Occupy Ghana case on the 14th of June, these individuals could either be public or private.
Beatrice, but did he mention which year the infractions occurred, especially for those who've been served the certificate of indebtedness?
He also did not answer. In fact, there was a question about whether this, this law, this engagement was going to take retrospective effect from 1993, which is just a year after the audit service, the act was put in place. He said that it depends. and he actually did not answer this question directly, but he said he again went back to the fact that all these will be made known when the Auditor General is ready to present the report or publish the report.
Thank you very much, Beatrice Edu, giving us some details on that press briefing by the Audit Service of Ghana. Meanwhile, leading member of pressure group Occupy Ghana, lawyer Ace Ankoma, has commended former President Mahama for appointing Daniel Domelovo as the Auditor General. Explaining a number of pointers he argues makes Ghana a corrupt country, Ace Ankoma said Daniel Domelovo is the best thing that has happened to Ghana in protecting the public purse. He points to his ability to have implemented successfully a legal instrument in Zambia to stem corruption, a law which he laments has been in Ghana's constitution for years without a bite.
Can never stop thanking a certain President Mahama for this. Not that we got any help from him. His ministers insulted us when we're having this Auditor General fight. But after he lost power, he made one appointment, a new Auditor General. Ghanaians were angry. Why is he appointing people when he's leaving office? And okay, for me, a new Auditor General was simply going to be an opponent because we were in court anyway.
Yeah.
But I started reading a little bit about him. And when he took office, he asked for a meeting. So I went to the meeting prepared to have a fight because we've been having this fight for a long time. My brother, have a seat. Then he asked me, why are we in court when we are on the same side? Of course, that completely disarmed me. He said, I agree with what you say we should do. Do you know what? And people of Ghana, listen to this. This man, and I don't give praise, but this man took our law, which I summarize as, if you play the fool with the money, we play the fool with you. Right? He took that law, which we hadn't implemented for 25 years, took the same law to Zambia. People of Ghana, listen. Zambia passed it and has been implementing it. Ghana needed a civil society organization to spend hundreds of thousands of cedis to go to the Supreme Court for the Auditor General to implement it. But a Ghanaian had taken that law to another country who appreciated our law better than us.
He had done this before he was appointed.
He had done this before he was appointed. In fact, Ghanaians should thank President Mahama for bringing this man to Ghana. He's a Ghanaian too, Mr. Daniel Domelovo.
Lawyer Ankoma also argued that a sure way to make the Auditor General and the Audit Service effective and less susceptible to corruption is to make them financially independent.
I have come to the decision, and this is just me, and also talking to some people, that two officers, Auditor General and Attorney General, ought to be made even financially independent of the government.
Right.
My view, and it's crystallizing, is that government ought to be bound to send all of its legal work. All government departments and agencies and ministries and everybody ought to be compelled by law to take all legal work to the Attorney General's department and all auditing work, as by law established now, to the Audit Service.
Right.
But government should pay for it. Our governments are willing to pay foreign lawyers to represent us elsewhere. Why wouldn't they pay for the legal services here? So that these become so financially independent that they can go out there and recruit the people they need for the jobs that they want to do. Look, in some instances during the interaction with the Audit Service, I was sad. At some point, they didn't even know how to do it.
You're watching Joy News today with me, Bernice Abubedu. Still to come in this package, Lebanese boss accused of assaulting female staff sentenced to 9 months in prison for causing harm. His lawyers plea for mitigation of sentence. Any hope? We'll bring you more. Thank you for staying here on Joy News today. Now, Jihad Chaban, the Lebanese boss accused of assaulting his female staff, has been found guilty of assault and causing harm. The court has rejected the terms of settlement presented and sentenced the accused to 9 months in prison for causing harm and 6 months for assault, both run concurrently. His lawyer is pleading for mitigation of sentence. Let's get onto the phone and speak to court correspondent Joseph Akablay for more. Hello, Joseph.
Hello, Dennis.
What was the accused reaction to the sentence?
In fact, his lawyers are very unhappy about this development. They have already served notice of filing an appeal against the decision of the court. In fact, right after Magistrate Victoria Ganza had read the court's judgment, a lawyer for the accused person, Jihad Shaban, in this particular matter, Julio de Medeiros, informed the court that he wanted to make an oral bail application for his client since they were proceeding to file for that particular appeal. But essentially, the point the magistrate made with regards to the terms of settlement that was presented to the court was to the effect that this was clearly a criminal matter, a matter between the Republic and Jihad Shaban, the accused person, for which reason the other bits about terms of settlement and out-of-court settlement, she said, was one that was a civil matter and not before the court, for which reason she cannot give any pronouncement on that. She then proceeded to deliver a judgment. There are 3 charges that was put against the accused person. The first one had to do with offensive conduct, the second being assault, and the third being causing harm. In terms of the offensive conduct, he was found not guilty. The reason being that the magistrate held that that activity took place at the kitchen of the restaurant. He said for an act to be said to be one of offensive conduct, it must take place in a public place. But with regards to the assault and that of causing harm, the magistrate was clear in her mind that the prosecution has succeeded in proving beyond reasonable doubt that the Jihad Shaban, who is accused in this case, indeed did assault the lady and also ended up causing harm. Interestingly, she even pointed out that one of the witnesses, the defense witness, the only individual who testified on behalf of Jihad Shaban herself, she said, confirmed that indeed Jihad held insult at the caterer and also held her head possibly, in which cases she said the two indicate indeed that the harm was caused as well as the assault, for which reason he was sentenced 6 months for assault and 9 months for causing harm. Both sentences ran concurrently, which means that Jihad Shaban will be in custody for 9 months, and he was just led into the courtroom right after proceeding.
Joseph, was the victim in court?
For some time now, Evelyn Boachi has not been showing up in the courtroom. As one brother of hers, Kenneth Ofoyi, who for some time now has been showing up in the court premises to monitor proceedings closely. What I tried to find out from the lawyer again is whether this means that the terms of settlement, the compensation they had wanted to provide for the lady, whether it was off the table entirely now that the court has found the individual guilty. He said it's not something that is off the table. He says they were all for reconciliation, for which reason they put those terms before the court. So even though they are appealing it, they will still continue to engage the caterer to ensure that they are appropriately compensated.
Thank you very much for the updates, Joseph Akablay. Let's still stay in the court. The Wa Circuit Court has sentenced 2 persons each to 12 years imprisonment in hard labor for robbery. The court, presided over by Justice Banfor Japan, pronounced the sentence on the 2 after they pleaded guilty for committing the robbery in broad daylight. They were accused of snatching the bag of the plaintiff, who was observing traffic regulations around the Wa Polytechnic Junction. Upper West Regional Correspondent Rafiq Salam reports from Wa.
Presenting the fact of the case to the Wa Circuit Court, Police Prosecutor Inspector Nyabi Stella stated that the plaintiff was riding a motorbike last Friday around 9:30 a.m. on the WFM road and moving towards the Wa Polytechnic Junction when the incident occurred. She had on her 150 Ghana cedis and personal documents on her bag hanging on her shoulder. On reaching the Wa Polytechnic Junction, the plaintiff stopped to observe traffic regulations when the 2 accused persons, namely Hakim Abdullahi, who was riding an unregistered motorbike, and Salam Dauda, as a pillion rider, popped up from the back of the plaintiff and suddenly attacked her. They hit the hand of the plaintiff, snatched her bag, and sped off. Inspector Nyabi told the court a witness in the case who saw the action chased them on his motorbike and succeeded in knocking them down. In his attempt to arrest them, Hakim Abdullahi pulled out a pair of scissors from his pocket and threatened to stab him if he dared touch them. The witness raised alarm, attracting passers-by who assisted him to arrest the duo. The witness raised alarm, attracting passers-by who assisted him to arrest the duo. They later called the police, who came and arrested the accused persons to the Wa police station. The plaintiff had her bag retrieved, but the money which was in the bag was missing. The duo pleaded guilty to the court. Before handing over the sentence, the Wa Circuit Court judge, Justice Banforson Ajapon, stated that the issue of bags and motorbike snatching was on the rise in the Wa municipality, and it was important to hand the two accused persons each with a prison sentence of 12 years in hard labor to serve as a deterrent. The court also handed 5-year prison sentence to 2 men for stealing motorbikes. They are Inusa Abdul Rahman and Suleimana Dauda. Meanwhile, the Upper West Regional Command of the Ghana Police Service welcomed the Circuit Court's decision to sentence the duo to 12 years imprisonment in hard labor. ACP Edward Oduro Kwatan is the Deputy Upper West Regional Police Commander.
The Upper West Regional Police Command wishes to use this opportunity to thank the witness who assisted in the arrest of the suspect by chasing them on his own motorbike and succeeded in knocking them down at the peril of his life. Policing is a shared responsibility, and he will surely be rewarded by the Regional Command. Public should also volunteer information to assist us in the discharge of our duties.
Reporting for Joy News, Rafik Salam. Wow.
In Joy News Agenda today, we take you to the community in Accra improvising against the country's biting housing deficit by building structures with recycled materials, including polythene bags. As the astronomical cost of housing continues to pose a challenge to many Ghanaians, some people are finding ways to minimize their spending on housing. That summarizes the story of residents in Kofi Krom, a sprawling community in Accra made up of only makeshift structures with polythene bags used as roofs. Residents here say they don't have to bother to pay any rent charges, as the one-time purchase of their little wooden structures caters for their need for shelter. Ahead of the multi-TV Habitat Fair, Joy News' Mark Zolagbagba was at Kofi Krom to meet 27-year-old resident Stephen Ayi and has come through with this report.
At night, Ghana's housing deficit is boldly magnified as a drive-through town reveals how many people have to sleep in front of shops with the hard concrete floors serving as pillows. But there are others who would prefer a roof over their heads. It does not really matter what kind of building it is. That is the posture of 27-year-old Stephen Ayi, who works as a factory hand in one of the companies around the Accra suburb of Aveno. Stephen left Kumasi for Accra in 2015 for greener pastures. Since then, he has been living in one of the makeshift structures with 2 other friends here at Kofi Krom. I'm currently here at Kofi Krom. Kofi Krom is a sprawling community very close to Aveno. Now, what is peculiar about this place is that wooden structures in which about 100 families live. Now, the structures here are makeshift structures, or what I can best describe as little kiosks. And the people here living here with their wives and their kids. I'm here to meet Stephen and Patrick. They've been living in some of these structures for the past 2 years. They tell me they don't have the money to pay for rent. Yeah. What's up? Oh, cool, Charlie. Hey. Okay. Easy. What's up, baby? Easy. Okay, Charlie. So, what's up? Like this place. How you guys doing?
Yes, Kofi Krom.
Kofi Krom. I just said Kojo Krom today, Takrad.
Kofi Krom,
Kofi Krom.
Kofi Krom Aveno.
Charlie.
Aveno.
So this is the place.
Yeah. You are pleased with it.
I sit with him on his bed together with his friend Patrick and his 2 children in the little wooden structure. Stephen narrates to me how his salary of 400 Ghana cedis cannot pay for his rent and any advance charges.
2015. Yeah. Okay, if I did for Kumasi, there's no work. So I was supposed to come here and fight for something small. That's why I'm here. As I did here now, I can't, the money is pay for company inside, I can't use to rent my house.
So how much?
If you go, sometimes you go get 3 years, 4 years advance. But for that money there, I can't pay most to take Ghana 2,000 Ghana cedis to rent. My first time I entered the company, it started be 350. But now they have increased it to 400.
So you say you can't use that money to go and rent a house?
As for 400 there, before the month will finish, then the money also finish. After 400, how much are you going to save? And how much are you going to use to pay your house?
Stephen tells me how he's able to manage the shack with his other 2 roommates.
No, I did night.
Somebody today
in the afternoon.
Somebody today.
So if I close, then them to close, they can't come. Before I close them, they are not here. At this time, I did inside. So in the night I'll go.
Okay.
And them too, they will come and sleep at night. Yeah. In the morning them too, they go.
Okay. So you guys basically like run shifts here?
Yes. You're rotating.
Wow. But this,
if you get, you go live here. But if you don't get, so you go day here at this.
So are you able to sleep at night?
Nights. Yeah, sometimes I sleep at night too. How can you do? Can't do anything. You go work, you feel tired. So you can't do anything. I mean, you go sleep. Go sleep.
The structures here may not be fit for human habitation, coupled with a poor ventilation. But that has not stopped their owners from advertising it for rent, as there are people more than willing to grab them. From Kofi Chrome in Accra, Maxwell Agbagba.
Great report there by Maxwell Agbagba. But definitely high rent charges are pushing lots of Ghanaians to sleep rough. Well, the Multi-TV Habitat Fair coming off on the 11th and 12th of August at the Accra International Conference Center will provide a one-stop shop for everything related to housing. Do make a date. It's now time for business with Emmanuel Abuaje Riafe. This is Joy News Today. A quick recap of our headlines. Towing levy bill rushed and done without appropriate consultation. Cabinet will not advise President to approve controversial bill expected to be implemented in September. That view is from an expert, Cecil Gabra. We told you some more on this particular development. And the Ghana Audit Service issues 4 companies with certificate of indebtedness for causing financial loss to the state. This was revealed by the Auditor General as he promises to name 7 more shortly. Also, Lebanese boss accused of assaulting female staff sentenced to 9 months in prison for causing harm. His lawyers are hoping to appeal this particular ruling. Also, in Joy News Agenda today, we took a look at how some residents of Kofi Chrome here in Accra are improvising with kiosks to shelter themselves in the wake of Ghana's housing deficit. Log on to myjoyonline.com for more news. Before I leave, let me just inform you that anytime soon the Vice President, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, will give an update on government's policy initiatives on the operations of Ghana's ports. We'll take you live to the Flagstaff House when the Vice President is ready to address the nation. But for now, that'll be all for Joy News today. My name is Benes Abubedu. The Marketplace with Emmanuel Abwatiriafe is next.